Hi there, it's time to have a look at a game called Survivor on the Amstrad CPC 464, also known as The Survivor, and not to be confused with a game released later in the 80s, in about 1987, which was by Toposoft, I think, and it was released by US Gold in the UK or something like that. This is a completely different Survivor. This was published in 1984, so very early on in the days of the Amstrad. It was programmed, it seems, by three brothers, Adam, Alan and Paul Chaffee, and it was published by Anirog. So just having a quick look at the sleeve and the cassette and everything, this took 6.5 minutes to load. And so what sort of a game is this? It's one of those games, it's sort of a frantic shooting game, you know, flick from screen to screen looking for items and things like that. So okay, to understand a bit more, I think we need to have a look at the backstory in the sleeve. So it says Deadstone Abbey is an isolated and rambling manor house which has lain empty for decades, and a king's ransom is scattered throughout the rooms. It's remained untouched, though, because the place is booby-trapped and there's lots of enemies in there. So Angus, desperate for money, is convinced that his instinct for survival will enable him to collect the fortune, armed only with his trusty gun and porcupine bombs. The poor porcupines. So he's undertaking the biggest challenge of his life. So it says Survivor is a fast-moving game with smooth rolling graphics. Well, it's flick screen anyway. There are 7 levels in total, and there are 1,008 different rooms to be explored, so that's quite a lot. And each time you complete a level, it gets a bit more difficult the next time. So in order to complete a level, you've got to collect a certain number of bombs. And once you've collected a certain number of bombs, you've got to find a signpost, and then you can get on to the next level. Yeah, just skipping down a bit the sleeve here, it says there are 7 levels in the mansion, and Angus has to clear the bombs on each level before he can proceed to the next level. Some of the rooms have a signpost, and if you touch a signpost, directions to the location of the nearest bomb will be flashed on the screen. And when Angus has exploded the required number of bombs on a level, he can proceed to the next level. Yeah, once you've detonated all the bombs, you've got to find a signpost, and then you go to the next level. So there's the signpost, self-explanatory. If you pick up the gun, you get more bullets. Those bottles, that's strength elixir, so the amount of strength you get replenished depends on how much is in the bottle. The empty bottles won't give you as much as the larger ones. And then there's a rundown of the scoring system for items that you pick up. 200 points for a magic symbol, 300 for a diamond ring, 400 for a coin, and 500 for a pound note. And the bombs, yes, that's what we're hunting there, is the bomb symbol. So, like I said, we'll need 2 of those on level 0, 3 on level 1, and so on and so forth. So whatever level you're on, just add the number 2 to that, and then you'll be able to remember how many bombs you need, no problem. Collect all bombs, get to the signpost, move on to the next level. And when you've still bombs to collect, the signposts serve the function of telling you where a bomb is. The porcupine bombs that were mentioned earlier on, they can be used at any time. It's like having a special weapon. If you press the spacebar in this game, you'll fire a shot up, down, left and right, but it does cost you energy if you do that. You lose strength, so best to be used sparingly. So a brief rundown of all the enemies that you're going to be trying to either avoid or kill. There's All Random, that's got no AI at all, so that's probably why it's only worth 400 points, but after that they get a bit tough. The Mean Wheeler, that you see there for 500 points, that was also depicted on the loading screen. That will hunt you down, as will the Mouth Monster for 600, and the Glider Cyborg, which are the fastest of all. They will also be hunting you down. They're 700 points. They look a bit like Daleks, don't they? But yeah, 3 of those 4 enemies will always home in on you. So there we go, programmed by Adam, Paul and Alan. Music by Andrew Edmond. So let's get started. Survivor from 1984 by the Chaffee brothers and published by Anirog. Let's have a look. Level 0 to start. So there's a signpost immediately, bump into that and it says down right. So there's a bomb located down and to the right somewhere. Can be any number of screens down or to the right. Have a maximum of 5 enemies on screen at any one time. The game handles it quite well up to about 3 of them, but when it starts getting 4 and particularly 5 you do get a bit of slowdown. We'll see more of that. Every time you get hit by an enemy, you lose a bit of strength, and also the border of the screen changes, the colour of the border. And I don't think the music's all that bad, actually, for something in 1984. It's sort of frantic and fast-paced, and it lends itself very well to the sort of manic frenzy of the game. It's best not to stand still for too long, because the spawning of these things is totally random. Sometimes they spawn on top of you, so you can't do anything to avoid it. There we go, there's an example of the porcupine bomb. A shot was fired in every direction. And even though really you're here, the sort of object of the game, it makes it sound as though the object is to grab as much treasure as you can. If you start trying to do that, I think you'll probably be force-fed your derriere, because this really is a game where you shouldn't linger around. You'll just get finished off. Can't do much against random spawns, so always keep making sure that you take your health elixir, keep drinking from the bottles. It's always a good maximum, even at the worst of times. So we've collected one bomb. All we need to do now is find another, and then when we've got that, we'll find our signpost. If you spend too long on a screen, you can see the doors shut, and sometimes you're sealed in and you can't get out for a few seconds, so that's another good reason to keep moving, because otherwise, well, you linger too long, and you just lose all your energy. Final bomb is up and left, so we'll go and try and get that. Yeah, you can see that door's been closed for quite a while now, but luckily we've got a wall between us and the enemies here. If that happened somewhere else, we could get quite a lot of damage. So as it happens, we can just wait here safely and wait for it to open. There it goes. Here's a gun symbol, or a gun rather, just pick that up. There we go, and the red bar at the bottom of the screen, that's got a bit longer. That's number of bullets you've got there on the red bar. The sort of green and orange ribbon, that's your strength, as you've probably worked out. And it tells you how many bombs you've got. Oh, there we go, there's the last one, and conveniently there's also a signpost in this room, so that'll get us to the end of the level. And there we go, level 0 complete, on to level 1. So there will be 3 bombs to collect this time, and a change of scenery, change of graphics for the walls. And that's pretty much it. Just keep on going like this. It does get harder and harder. The later levels have less and less bottles, fewer and fewer bottles to drink from. So it's harder to replenish the strength, and I think the enemies, they seem to spawn more quickly as well. I don't know whether that's just something psychological going on there with me, the way I'm perceiving things, but it seems to get a bit busier. So that's that. I think I'll let this play through and well, have a look, see what you think. And there we are, we've done it. You've become an ultimate survivor. And you can see the colours scrolling away there in the word congratulations at the top. If we just take a quick look at all the pen colours, you can see that they're sort of scrolling through almost sequentially. Those are the colours in mode 0. And you get the sort of game over sequence there as well. Now it says you have become an ultimate game over, but just because it's printed that over the initial statement. So that game is tough work, but I don't know, it's the sort of game you can always come back to. I think you can just revisit every now and then, just have a blast around, and it probably gets quite repetitive after a while. Oh, we didn't quite get to top spot on the high score table. What a shame. At least we're ahead of Captain James T. Kirk. So that's Survivor by Adam, Paul and Alan Shafai, or possibly Shafi. Published in 1984 by Analog. So I'll just try and wrap this video up now and bring it to a close. Well, when it comes to scoring it, I think you've got to put things into context. 1984 is very early on in the days of the Amstrad. So if things look a little bit rough and ready, that's to be perfectly understood. But at the same time, I think this is very colourful. It's very responsive. You can send. There is a bit of key conflict actually when I'm playing this, but I don't know whether that's emulation or not. So I'll give that the benefit of the doubt for the time being. But I'm of the opinion, and it is just an opinion, that this game would have been a very worthy addition to the collection back in 1984. So, analysing it in context and all things considered, I'm going to give this a score of 59 out of 100 after all the numbers have been crunched. Not spectacular, but perfectly fine to have in the collection and dip into from time to time. So, that's it for now. Let's just have a quick look at Game Over before we finish. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to happen. I don't know why that happens even when you've won the game. Maybe it's just an easy way to kick the game back to the main menu, so if they reused a bit of code or something. But that's it. That's Survivor on the Amstrad CPC 464 cassette. All the way back, published by Analog in 1984. Hope that you found that enjoyable, and bye for now.